Welcome to Two Hypnotherapists Talking with me, Denise Mejia, in Delaware, USA.
And me, Martin Ferber, in Preston, UK.
This weekly podcast is for anyone and everyone who'd like to know more about the fascinating subject of hypnosis and the benefits it offers.
I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and psychotherapist.
I'm a retired medical doctor turned consulting hypnotist.
We are Two Hypnotherapists Talking.
So let's get on with the episode.
And this week we are accompanied by Jo Blackburn, who's going to tell us about some of her work in hypnotherapy as well.
Hi, Jo.
Hello, lovely to meet you both. So I'm Jo, or my business name is Josephine Blackburn. I'm based in Northamptonshire, in a little village called Great Addington. So yeah, in East Northants. Thank you for asking me along.
Do you work primarily locally? Or do you work online like so many of us do now?
Both. I do have a lot of clients who prefer to come to me, so they are quite local, although anywhere from, I suppose, from half an hour's journey to get here. So Northampton area, around, a big circle round me. If they're prepared to travel, then they'll come. If not, we can do it over Zoom, which works just as well. I think the pandemic taught us that, didn't it?
It does. It definitely works as well. I mean, there's some people that just prefer, and of course, if they have some medical issue that you might need to pay attention to, then really only can do it online, in person. But yeah, that's great. Yeah. And you've been established for about 3 or 4 years now?
Yes, since 2019. So yes.
Did you get enough business information? Most of the people who are listening are hypnotherapists themselves. I think people are curious on how long did it take you to build a client base? How did you first go about it?
Okay, well, my other career is a beauty and holistic therapist, so I'd got quite a big client base anyway, and so certainly for doing my case studies for the training, it was easy because I just asked all my clients, would you like some hypnotherapy? Well, I picked, chose the ones that I thought would benefit from the hypnotherapy. And then it kind of went on from there, and then talking to the clients, and they knew that I'd qualified in it, so then they became hypnotherapy clients as well as the beauty clients, and then word got out, and it's kind of spread. It's taken a while to grow, and of course with the pandemic in the middle of it, it was only on Zoom that we could do it then. So but
yes, it gave us rather more experience online than we expected to get at first.
I think it sort of fast forwarded the profession about 5 years very quickly.
Definitely.
With the enforced use of Zoom.
And being able to go to so many conferences that before you would, you want to go to Las Vegas, so you have to choose between the big Las Vegas one and the big Florida ones 2 months later, and then the British ones. You can go to as many as you can afford, and they're cheaper in actual cost of putting them on, because we can use automation and things. See, I'm losing words again. I am overtired. Yes, it was such a great conference.
You've just done 3 days of presenting at a conference.
No, I didn't present for 3 days. I listened for most of it. I presented for a little time. So, Jo, what aspect of hypnotherapy would you most like to discuss right now? It can be absolutely anything.
Well, it's just the way that, how do you two work, in your practices? Because I've kind of gone on to a slight niche way of working for myself, but obviously I still do the solution focused model as well, and still do that with clients if it's appropriate. So it's adjusting to your clients, isn't it?
So you don't just use solution focused. You've added other modalities, or you're a holistic. Were you a coach?
No, I was a beauty therapist. So I do massage, facials, manicures, pedicures, that sort of thing as well. So I still do that, and which is why I've got a lot of certificates up here. They're not all the hypnotherapy. But so this is my therapy room. I do all my beauty and holistic therapy.
when I was in training, and I'm not solution focused, although I think solutions are a good idea to go for. A lot of people were coming from hairdressing, massage therapy, those kinds of things, and they were incorporating it. So they were using massage and hypnosis at the same time, because touch, of course, is you can you ever rubbed a baby's back and let them go to sleep. I mean, this is the same kind of problem. See, I can't talk today. It's a bad day for me. I need a nap. But so you're blending those things in order to produce whatever's needed for that particular client.
More the different techniques, because through lockdown as well, and as you said about the conferences being easy to access, so have the CPDs been easy to access online. So I have done quite a lot, and I did an NLP one and learnt some more techniques. And so this program has been devised by, well, he's an NLP practitioner as well as a solution-focused hypnotherapist, and he's devised this mind reboot, and it's a quick way, like six to 7 sessions, and it works because you've got lots of different avenues to work from. So you've got the NLP techniques, you've got the solution-focused brief, so you've got the hypnosis part of it as well. So yes, it's a good technique to clear all those things that are stuck in our bucket, as we say. So yes,
I'm interested to hear more about this, Jo, because obviously you and I both trained with the same model, solution focused, and sessions follow a fairly rigid routine, don't they, in terms of starting off with what's been good, some brain revision, scaling, miracle question, and then the trance part of it. Is there an additional phase with this mind reboot program?
Yes, I mean, we still do ask what's been better, what's been good this week, so it's definitely focusing on that positive. But it's also, although we were told not to dwell on the past, not to go into the past, it is important, I feel, certainly from a beauty therapist point of view, and I had hypnotherapy myself, and I think it is important to know a little bit of background of why they've come through the door. If they don't want to tell you everything, they don't have to tell you everything, but I think it's important to get that little bit of information. And then it's working on those things that are stuck in their bucket that actually are holding them back and constantly hold them back. So it's a way of, clearing those past traumas, traumatic experiences, high emotional experiences, and being able to free those up so that actually you're thinking differently. You can, see that actually that doesn't need to have such a hold on your life, because quite often things are misunderstandings. It's not actually the way that you perceived it to be, because as we know,
that's always, whenever we're working with memory, what you remember is probably not what happened exactly.
Yeah,
it's your interpretation of it, and it's your interpretation at the time that you're thinking about it, because
absolutely,
if you look at a memory and then you go back and look at it again, it's quite different.
It is.
Well, we do say, don't we, every time you sort of bring a memory back, you twiddle it just a little bit more.
Right, and pop it back.
Yeah,
it's fascinating. But
so
you're still following, though, a set. This reboot is a program. Do you do it as a group program, or is it individual?
It's individual.
Okay. So the only ones I have, this is this week, this is next week, this is this week, this my group programs, because obviously they'd all be at different places and it would be very complicated. But the training that I got was not solution focused. Not that they weren't looking for solutions, or that what the client wanted is definitely where we're going. But the most rigid they were, I do hope nobody from the school's watching, the most rigid they were, that it was really important to have an arm elevation. It was the main convincer that was used in the the standard induction process. And I threw that out the window almost right away, because it's difficult to do online. And most of us were then working online in 2019 even. And it was okay, but it interfered, because I had to keep saying, could you move your camera a little bit so I can see what you're doing?
Yes.
So I would do maybe some sort of movement in the elbow, but I couldn't tell what they were. Anyway, but my program encouraged a more, I won't say not client-centered, because you guys obviously are client-centered, but it was, whatever you did was, other than the fact that you would induct them, you would do whatever you were doing, you bring them out, you put them back in, so you've got a post-hypnotic suggestion. That was, you know, the basic program, where we were very open about what we were actually doing with the client.
Yeah.
So when you were in training, both of you, did you have hypnosis versions? Did you have people coming to the school? Did you have people who had no idea about hypnosis, or were you practicing on each other mostly?
No, we had to recruit our own clients. But it was a set thing by, I think it was month 4. You had to recruit clients, but for free of charge. So there wasn't really a great deal of difficulty encouraging them, especially as at the time online, everybody was in lockdown. They were stuck on Facebook and
something to do.
Something to do, yeah. So we had to recruit our own clients. And then the last 2 months before you graduate, you start charging half price. But the main ones are at the beginning, when you have to recruit them for free hypnotherapy. Because I was online. Were you mainly online for your tutoring, Joe? Oh no, you qualified before, didn't you?
No, yes, I was in Peterborough, so I went to Peterborough for every session, and yeah, it's all done face to face.
Yeah. Oh, great stuff. So this Mind Reboot program, I've read up, you see, all the information on your website, which of course we will include in the show notes. And to me, as somebody who's very familiar with solution-focused hypnotherapy, I'm quite intrigued by it to find out what the extra things are, like you say. So you do look perhaps at the origins of some problems, or you do discuss that with the clients. Is that just to sort of like offer them reassurance that yes, okay, that happened, but don't worry, we're going to look forward? Or
yeah, to a certain extent, but we don't need to know what the client's looking at. We don't need to know the detail of what they're seeing. Some people do like to tell you anyway. You know, that's just human nature. Some people just want to share everything, and I don't stop anyone if they do. But then I will say, you know, you don't need to be disclosing any of what you're seeing, what you're reliving, really. They can just keep that in their mind. So it's a safe way of addressing those things. And so we do the basic consultation that we were taught in the class, but I've added other little bits that I feel is relevant as well. But
well, absolutely, there are parts that you tailor to each individual client anyway. I mean, that's you know, the nature of it, isn't it? Well, I mean, this was always one of my bones of contention when I was training, Denise. You might find this amusing. Yes, I absolutely agree with the thing about the presenting issues aren't that important. It's focusing on the solutions. And a very, very important thing for people is to feel understood and to feel heard. And the way we were taught in college was almost dismissive of the presenting issues, and I never agreed with that. You know, if people wish to discuss things, yes, okay, don't let them dwell on it. Then, but
I don't need to hear it 3 times.
Yeah,
but make sure that the client knows that they are heard and they are understood, and then we get them. That's you know, that's always my thing, and I never discourage anybody in the way that we were taught to. Because you know, once they do feel understood, it is easier then, I feel, for them to focus on the future and on the solutions.
Speaking to the wanting to be heard, one of the presenters was talking about childbirth at the conference. Actually, several people were, but the one I was in was. And I think the second point she made was, if the client wants to call it pain, call it pain. I'm paraphrasing, because it sounds dismissive. A woman who is in labor, has not had hypnosis training, and you're trying to help her in the moment, and she is in pain. If a person's got bone cancer, it's pain. We're going to make it just merely uncomfortable, but if you're dishonoring their experience.
Yeah, you're trivializing it.
Yeah, exactly. You're trivializing it.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what they perceive. And what they perceive, obviously, their perception is the entire point of the exercise.
It
is, yeah. So, Joe, do you find then this mind reboot program? Because as I say, I'm fascinated with it. Would it be fair to say that it actually really helps change those limiting beliefs, in the sense of altering the default position that you always go back to? I like to use weight loss as an example. So many clients I see over weight loss, their default position always is, well, I'm going to be fat forever. They've got that in their head. That's the thing that they seem to be directed back to. I'm going to be overweight. I'm going to be out of shape. Whatever.
Yeah.
Do you find the reboot program offers more help?
Yes.
Deal with issues like that, perhaps with a client who's sticking in their old ways, sort of thing?
Yes, yeah, because
in ways that the standard solution focus wasn't addressing. Is this a missing piece of what you're doing? What do you think makes it a better option than the standard therapy that you were able to offer before you took the course?
So with the standard sort of solution focused hypnotherapy, we don't talk about the problem, we don't sort of readdress the problem. So for myself, I may as well talk about a personal experience. So I had hypnotherapy. I'd have various counselling sessions, etc. over the time, and I had hypnotherapy, the solution focused hypnotherapy, same training as we did, and it worked very well. It got me out of the place that I was in. It made me enjoy my daughter, which is one of the things. I have postnatal depression, and it really did affect me. So I could get on with my life, and I felt in a good place. And then when I did the training, again, I felt a much better, but much stronger person. But then actually doing this mind reboot, and I experienced the mind reboot myself. I went through the program thinking, well, I'm okay. I feel really good. I feel positive about everything, and I haven't got things that are holding me back. But actually, when I looked into it, and I thought, well, yeah, there are those limiting beliefs that I still have, because those things are still there in the bucket that I haven't actually dealt with. I've kind of managed the bucket and brushed over them to a certain extent, but I hadn't really, the counselling hadn't addressed it fully, and the hypnotherapy hadn't addressed it fully. So they are still those little things that give us that limiting belief, and that I'm not good enough, or things that have hold back. So by going through the mind reboot, it was emotional, because things came into my mind that actually I was thinking, I do need to address this. I certainly didn't disclose what I was looking at or what I was seeing with James. He hasn't got a clue what I was imagining going through. But all those things, all those traumatic experiences that were traumatic to me, to other people, they might not be traumatic, but to me, they were high emotional states. And so by doing the rewind the trauma, accepting that trauma, and then looking at the 5 negative states, again, you're kind of dipping into the same memories that you have, but you're looking at it in different ways.
Remember, most people aren't solution focused. So explain what you mean by those 5.
Okay, so 5 negative emotions that we deal with are anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. So those negative templates that we if you think of when you're a child and you're caught up in an argument, your parents are arguing, they're ignoring what you're saying, and because they're bothered about what's going on with them, so you kind of feel that rejection, and you feel a bit sad because they're not listening to you. So then you can get that template built into you from as things that have happened. So it's just readdressing, going into those memories that your brain will just come up with. You'll suddenly remember situations. As we said earlier, it's either exactly what it was, or it's slightly twisted sort of imagination over time, thinking these things. But actually, by going into it, you get that learning from it and think, actually, no, it wasn't my fault. I don't need to have feel that way in the moment.
And some of us, what do you mean? I was 6.
Yeah. So it's a way of reprogramming our way of behaving, so that we don't have to still revert back to that same way that we were when we were ingrained into us at 6 years old or whatever. And
okay, so you're desensitizing and removing that particular emotion from the memory and attaching a different kind of emotion to the memory. Would that sum it up? Yeah, it
is. Yes, because you're learning about it. So yes, you're getting that learning, that understanding from those memories that have haunted you over the time. They keep cropping up, they keep being part of you, but actually they don't need to be part of you anymore.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what we're taught, isn't it? That when our stress bucket is full or getting fuller, the old negative thought systems come in, the inner narrative changes.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't wish to seem rude or see, I can't find any words today. This is terrible. Somebody hypnotized me, bring my brain back. I was trained without necessarily any particular structure. We were told, we were encouraged to have programs, because this constant marketing to bring in new people through the door is exhausting. And there are so many things that people could work on. So once somebody's worked on one thing, they often want to, oh, would you do this? And oh, can we do that? Yeah. So you say, but they're not necessarily a program.
Okay.
But things that I think of as usually quick fixes, it's either going to work or it's not. Things like phobia.
Yeah.
Do you modify your programs for people that, if they come to you and are the ways that your programs are written or structured sufficient to get to the root of the problem early and get rid of it? If it's an isolated thing, like I hate spiders, or those kinds of very discrete things, do you get frustrated having to follow a particular set before you get to the answer, or does your program permit you to you're an independent being, do what you want, but do you feel comfortable modifying your programs to address something and have it fixed for the client and then say, give me a call if you ever need me again? Or is it sort of, oh yes, we'll deal with that and we will also deal with this too, so you have them come for and then get a perm at the end of it, or whatever, however else they're connected to you. You have other options in your bow than Martin and I do.
Yeah, I mean, fears and phobias, Joe, do you still follow the 4-session pattern for that?
I do. Yeah. So if somebody comes specifically for the fear, the phobia, then yes, I will follow the pattern of the CPHT training. So yeah, but if I'm talking to them in the initial consultation and certain things crop up in that, then I might say to them, well, actually, I think it might be worth addressing the mind, going down perhaps a mind reboot, or having a couple of extra sessions. Because if somebody's really anxious, then I think adding another session in for solution focused way, just to bring their anxiety down, is more beneficial. So I listen, I go with my individual clients. But yeah, the fears and phobias, it's definitely what we learnt It's
yeah. No, I'm just thinking about, for example, it's semi-hypothetical. Say, for example, a woman came to you and said, I have got this terrible fear of spiders, but it stemmed from when my brother shoved one down my blouse when I was 6 years old. Would you suggest that would be done differently from the normal thing of I've just got a general fear of spiders?
No, I'd still just probably do the spiders, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I tend to stick to the 4-session thing for phobias as well, because it works, it's proven, and it works. It's a good system. And I've never had one come back to me after a period of time saying the phobias come back.
No,
and until the client we know as Bridgeman, I had assumed it would take. I usually tell people take 2 or 3 sessions before, don't decide it isn't working until we've had at least this amount of time. And I had a guy, and I saw it happen, that you literally saw him relax halfway through the first session. It was gone. 2 days later, he texted me after, not during driving over, but after he drove over a bridge. And he texted me and said, my wife says I was looking at the scenery. So and that didn't come back. And we had the second session because it's built into the program. And he said, it's great. I said, well, I guaranteed we would take care of it. So come back anytime it does, but you can listen to the audios periodically, drive over a few bridges, remind yourself that you can. And, where we live, it's really hard to go anywhere very far without crossing a bridge. And it was all the longer bridges, obviously, with the bigger issues. And in this country, we can have quite a few rather long bridges. And then he chose to become a weight management client. And he was so happy about how it had worked for the first time, that he was the perfect client. So he did really, really well. He bailed before the end of the program on that too. So because he didn't need it. And I don't want to hang on to people if they don't know. It's like, oh, just give me a call now and again. We'll go for coffee or something, because I sort of miss them. You see people for a few weeks. But I feel I would feel very restricted, I think, if I had been trained in that kind of a program where you have that you're free to check this out if you're uncomfortable with it, Martin. I feel it is. We I think it's somewhat restrictive. Yeah.
No, we can. You are okay. If we wish to.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean the 4-session thing for phobias, for example, the first session is just the IC, so you could do that over the phone anyway. The second session you could actually skip or incorporate it into the first session, because that's just a general relaxation thing.
Okay. So it may just be then that you split out what I would perhaps do in one.
What we do in the third session is basically a rewind, which so that needs doing. And then the fourth session is a reframe of their phobia in a new situation, just to give them that extra reassurance. Basically, the phobia is gone as soon as you've done the rewind. It's gone after session 3, which could be cut down to session 2 if you wanted to, really. But the phobia is gone after the rewind. All the fourth session does is reinforce how they are going to be without this phobia. Just some positive future rehearsal for it, basically.
Right.
Yes.
That's my description of it. Do you agree with that, Jo?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. I class it as 3 sessions. So because I don't count the initial consultation particularly as a session, so I'd say it's just 3 sessions for that. So yes. But yes, like you say,
interesting, isn't it, how many different flavors of hypnotherapy there can be?
Yes, and actually, because we are all individual, it's important to look at the client and find what works for you as well, isn't it? So it's getting that balance for the best for your client who's presenting in front of you.
Well, that's it. I mean, everything's client focused at the end of the day. I do think, though, some clients just expect hypnotherapy to be a 1-session quick fix thing because of what they see on television with the swinging watch and a man's cured of a phobia in 30 seconds and that kind of thing. So it is important to manage expectations.
I do not lead with that. I tell people I don't know how long this will take, but
but I think there is an expectation of a quick fix, and yet with smoking, that is 1 session.
Yeah,
that's,
and yet
2.5 hours though.
Around where I used to live, which isn't very far from where I'm living now, but it's a different state. I knew there were several hypnotists. Most of them were psychologists who practice hypnosis as well. And all of their weight clients, they went for a single session, no audio, nothing. That was it. Okay, your folks go. I didn't know of the people who went to them, anybody that had success with that method, I'll point out. Even initially, it wasn't even like I didn't eat much for a couple of days. I didn't hear any positive. And this was more than, it wasn't just like one bad apple hypnotist. That seemed to be the standard. Come to me, I will tell you not to eat, and then you can go away and not eat. Seemed to be the answer. Those are the clients I tell you, well, you want to lose 10 pounds, fine. It may not, you'll be on your path fairly soon. Staying on the path, but need to touch base with people. And usually I tell people that needs over a 12-week, 6 sessions over a 12-week period.
Yeah. I mean, weight loss, weight management, I do it over 6 sessions. That's my sort of my solution focused plus program that I devised, because I do include some direct suggestion in the work I do, Joe.
Right.
With the weight loss, but I'm speaking from a position of experience, as you know, with my weight loss.
Yes, yeah.
So I do incorporate direct suggestion in with it, and it works. So that's at the end of the day, that's what it is. But I concentrate mainly on serial yo-yo dieters, the people that have been either mostly gaining weight all their lives or mostly losing weight.
Okay.
That's serial yo-yo dieters. They rarely stay at the same weight for very long.
Yeah, interesting. So you've devised your own program as such to help.
It's 6 sessions, but the language patterns change each time, and the backup materials in the evening, because that's always the killer time for most people, is that evening snacking thing. That's when they get the backup recordings for in the evenings as well.
Right.
Because that gets them through that period.
Yeah, interesting.
Do you do a lot of weight management in your programs?
For me, no, not many. No, I have done. I did do 6-session group weight management, which we had quite a few people that joined that. That was over Zoom. It was me and another hypnotherapist who I'd trained with. She's local to me. We devised these 6 sessions, probably not in the same way that you've just described, Martin. It was based on a CPD we did together, and then thought, we'll do that. And feedback was good, but it was a struggle to get people to come to it. Again, I don't know whether it was the word hypnotherapy that put people off.
It is. I mean, that's the whole. Sorry, Denise, go on, you carry on.
No, I was going to say, I haven't done a lot of marketing to acquire those kind of the groups. It's been mostly, I'll see somebody for pain and they really enjoy the process, but they don't really see me for that anymore. They know they can come back if they need to, but we could do this and we could do that. And to make it more cost conscious for them, group program, which, they already know how to hypnotize themselves. So when I give them an audio, they're already going to go into, they don't need that same one-to-one. They need to be able to touch base with a person about the issue. And obviously ask any specific questions they have of me, but I don't need to be in the room with them for 50 minutes. So that kind of group work, I'm interested in building more of that. Looking at the time
that flew
here.
By.
Yeah,
that
it did.
Flew by.
Yeah. Well, nice to meet you, Joe.
So, Joe, if any of our viewers or listeners want to get in touch with you, your website and contact details will be in the show notes. Thank you for joining us today, Joe. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, it's been lovely chatting to you both. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome.
Bye-bye. We hope you've enjoyed listening. Please remember, this podcast is designed to give you an insight into therapeutic hypnosis and is for educational purposes only. So remember, consult with your own healthcare professional if you think something you've heard may apply to you or a loved one.
If you found this episode useful, you can apply for free continuing professional development or CME credits using the link provided in the show notes. Feel free to contact either of us through the links in the show notes. Join us again next week.